Jaya Jaya! The topic for this video is how to masterfully navigate conflicts and friction when they arise. I'm going to give you some examples and some core ideas that can be applied directly in the field of romantic relationships, but of course you can extend those principles to any situation in life, for instance, in the field of business, in the field of social situations, friendships, and so on. So let's get started with that fascinating topic. So the first core idea to understand when we are navigating that within a spiritual context, within the tantric context, it is that when a conflict arises, there is an opportunity. When there is a friction between, for instance, you and your partner, that's an opportunity to create a deeper connection between those two human beings. So that's the first mindset that we want to really anchor. It is an opportunity for growth and an opportunity for connection. Powerful, right? It's a powerful way to look at it. The second principle that we want to understand, it is that conflicts are a playground. They are a space in which we can engage in it as if this was an art form, right? Being in this space that can be of high intensity is going to be an art form. How do you navigate it? What are the words that you use? What are the concepts? What are the intentions? How do you play with those energies? So it's an art form. The third core principle that we want to anchor, it is that the end result or the end goal that we want to achieve is to be masters of conflict, masters of friction, be able to navigate it playfully and basically engage into these conflict areas, into these frictions areas from a place of mastery. And to become a master at anything, of course, we need to play a lot with that. We need to engage into it, we need to have lots of practice, and one of the best areas where we can practice conflict and friction mastery is precisely in the field of relationships. This doesn't mean that we are going to be seeking conflict, but it means that when, for instance, we are in situations in our romantic life or life in general where conflicts tend to arise, instead of running away from these conflicts, we are going to face them, discover them, play with them. Okay? So those are the general core ideas. And one of the core things that we want to do is precisely to stay present. When there is intensity that arises, discover ways of circulating that energy and anchor or develop the core skills that you want when you're navigating the conflicts. Okay? So now let's make it practical. What are the skills that you need to be able to navigate conflicts in very healthy, mature ways? The first skill that you want to develop is really mastery of your speech. What you say and how you say it is going to be essential. How do you respond to somebody who is getting triggered by you? Or how do you navigate when you are yourself triggered? Are you going to voice something? Are you going to bring it to the surface? What if you notice that you have a difference of opinion with another human being? What do you do in all these situations? So the core quality or the core skill that we want to activate is our mastery of our own speech. Right? So the code word for that is Vakya. Vakya is speech. Vakya Yama means masters of speech or speech mastery. That's one of the core concepts that we want to activate. Another one, precisely if we rewind back to the idea of conflict mastery, the code word in Sanskrit for conflict or friction is Yuda. Yuda. So when we say Yuda Yama means conflict or friction mastery. Okay, so that's another code word that we want to anchor. The third code word that we want to anchor is Satya. Satya means truth. Satya Yama means masters of truth. So truth, when you are sharing something, when you are engaging into a dialogue or a conversation that can get really heated, you want to identify for yourself what is your truth in that specific situation. Another core idea that you want to activate is that when you are in conflict, for instance, with your partner, very often the goal is not necessarily to be right. The goal very often is not necessarily to escape the conflict. The goal is to find ways of connecting deeper with each other. And so what we are really seeking is connection. And so when you engage into a conflict, rather than focusing on the idea of sticking to your idea, you go like, how can I actually establish and create connection with my partner, even though we might have differences of opinion, even though we might be angry with each other, how can we establish the connection with each other? So we look at the bigger picture, and this is why we can call all of that intentional speech, or intentional conversation, or intentional communication, or intentional fighting mastery, or fighting negotiation, or fighting management, right? Fight management. So the core idea, again, it is to establish a deeper connection. At least very often it's going to be the case. Now, sometimes that might not be your target. Maybe you just want to project whatever shadows in your field and just release, and you have no interest in establishing connection with somebody. Well, that's a possibility as well. It doesn't mean that it's wrong, but it's a different intention than trying to dive deep into connection with a partner. So again, you have all this vast range of possibilities. There is no right or wrong. The way I teach and the way I approach Tantra is not from a dogmatic place, from a place of me telling you what is right and what is wrong, and how you are supposed to be navigating conflicts. It's an intuitive navigation. This is intuitive research. We are playing with energies and discovering ways of navigating them intuitively. And so those are some of the basic principles that we want to anchor in our minds, in our field, concerning conflicts. Now, there is another core idea in the sense of what is the deep intention behind the conflict or the friction that is happening there. Why is this happening? Again, as an opportunity for growth, an opportunity for awakening, an opportunity for deeper connection with your partner. There are two core strategies that we can apply when it comes to conflict. One of them is escalating the conflict. It means that if we are in the middle of the conflict, are we going to bring in fire, add oil to the fire so that we can intensify actually the rush of adrenaline and the rush of cortisol and stress and pressure that is happening within that? The question is, why would we do that? Well, because from a perspective of evolution or awakening, the tension itself and the friction that can happen between two human beings is a productive time. It's a time of evolution and a time of awakening. Sometimes we are going to engage within the conflict with intentionality. And that doesn't mean abusing each other. It doesn't mean physically hitting each other. We set up very clear boundaries. We play simply with the energy so that we can go deeper into that. Why do we do that? Well, because there is an opportunity not only for growth, but an opportunity for a profound breakthrough. When you have conflict or friction between two sources, this is you and this is your partner, and there is conflict building up, you will notice that at a certain point, the tension and the friction between your two beings might completely dissolve. It means that at a certain moment there might be a breakthrough of energy, and when you experience that, it is a moment of ecstasy. It is really powerful, and it is a great mystery, because the first time that I experienced that, I was like, oh my God, what's going on? I'm in a state of exhilaration and trance and literal samadhi, and I start entering into a connection with somebody. In that case, that was not my lover. The first time I experienced it was just a random friend of mine, and we entered into this conflict intensification consciously. We decided to go for it because we had a hint about it, and it's a technique that we had been, kind of learning about a little bit, but it was not clear. So we went for it, and after 15 minutes of high intensity conflict, where we were insulting each other and throwing at each other, horrible things that might look horrible. People were like watching us, and they were like, what are you guys doing? And so we kept on going, and after 15 minutes, suddenly, the whole conflict just dissolved and disappeared. It was a moment of profound magic that completely changed my perception about what conflict is. So there are going to be some situations where that magic kicks in through intensity and through fire. You push yourself to the very limits, approaching it a little bit like a game. It doesn't have to be serious, but you can approach it like a game, playing the game of intensification, and then precisely, you start rising the energy, and then you might reach this moment of breakthrough. I invite you first to be really careful with that technique and make sure that you have boundaries that are very clear. So one good boundary is don't hurt yourself, don't hit walls, and don't touch each other. No physical hit, otherwise it can become really dangerous. But as long as it's verbal and emotional, you will notice that it can be tons of fun, surprisingly tons of fun, because you are going to discover how to circulate that energy. I want to say something else about that practice, which is really important. It is that when you look at fire, at anger, at something that is being projected in your field, or that you're projecting, but imagine that you are receiving this anger from somebody, right? Our minds, our rational thinking creates a story. It says, anger is wrong and peace is right. It creates like this duality of a hierarchy of different energies, that one energy is better than the other, right? So instead of creating this duality, we look at anger just as energy, no story attached. What is literally happening when my girlfriend or partner is angry with me, she is giving me energy. This is literally what's happening. Like right now, it can be explosive, it can be aggressive, it can be an energetic attack, it can be like an arrow that hits my heart, it can be really aggressive, but basically you look at it as energy being projected into my field. And so the reason why I might reject this energy is because my system is not energetically or emotionally equipped to circulate it. That's the core idea. It is that if I receive that energy and part of me goes, receiving the fire, and it activates me, and I feed myself from this energy, from this aggression, and then from this anger, and I receive it and I circulate it, and instead of being like, oh, you are crazy, stay away from me, this is not okay, this is wrong, you need to seek therapy, there is something really wrong with you. Instead of saying that, I say, oh yes, tell me more. What else is there? What else is there? Tell me more. Keep going. Keep going. Yes, I can feel you. I feel your anger. Thank you for your gift. Right? It's a radical change. Thank you for your gift. Do you realize what just happened? Suddenly we transmute it and completely change, reframe what's happening. And suddenly, instead of this being like a conflict between energies and something trying to hit me, no, I receive the energy and I circulate the energy and then I give it back. And then suddenly we have this play of energy that is really powerful and intense. Okay. So this specific set of strategies of building that connection through intensity, that's an escalation of the conflict. It's like literally we see it and we go like, great, let's build up the fire and it's going to be fun. Again, nobody's going to get hurt in the process. I mean, if you don't know how to circulate the energy and your partner says something that is really nasty, it might hit your ego and might be really painful to receive. But it's a practice. You have to start really slow, okay? Don't go into the sensitive things that might be really hurtful, but you start with something slow. I'm really angry with you right now. Oh, yes, you are. And then you keep on building it up. So this is escalation. And there is another approach, another way of mastering conflict, which is de-escalation. There are going to be some situations where the escalation is not appropriate. You might be in a public place, you might be in a restaurant, you are surrounded by people. Now is not the right time. Or you're driving your car back from a party, back from an event, going back home, and your partner decides precisely that this is the right time to start attacking you or being angry with you or diving into intensity over something that happened that evening. So you have to be really smart. There are certain contexts where it's not going to be appropriate to have an escalation. So you want to de-escalate. You have to be really smart with that. And so timing is really, really important. If you're not emotionally available, you don't have energy, it's middle of the night, you just want to sleep, you have to wake up early the following day, now is not the right time to engage into an escalation. So you want to de-escalate. And how do you de-escalate? You are going to give your partner a boundary, or you are going to receive a boundary from your partner. In that case, for instance, if the anger is being directed at my system, I look at my partner, I might say something like, wow, it looks like you are really angry right now, and I love you and I have no desire to fight with you right now. I hear you, I know, I can see that there is some fire. Listen, right now I don't have the capacity to do that with you. I love you, I really want to dive deeper into what you're suggesting over here, but let's create a safe space tomorrow, after tomorrow, later this week, where you can really voice what you have to voice. I want to hear what you have to say, and now is not the right time, right? So this is a de-escalation. Another de-escalation in the context where, of course, we might have an argument or a difference of opinion on something. A very simple way to voice it. It looks like my experience of reality is different than yours. I respect your experience of reality, and my experience is different than yours, and that's perfectly okay. You see, that's an instant deflect. I don't give you the right to tell me what to think, and I don't want to tell you what to think. You have a certain belief system that I honor and respect, right? And I want to be respected as well. That's it. Freedom of thought. That's a beautiful thing. We don't have to be dogmatic, and we don't have to agree on everything. The choice that you make are your choices. The choice that I make are my choices. Of course, there are subtleties and around all that, but basically those are techniques of de-escalation. So you have, again, escalation and de-escalation as two core pathways or strategies on how to engage into all that. There is so much more to say. This is really a vast topic. We're not going to cover that in a less than 20-minute video, but basically you get an overview picture now about how to navigate all that and what it might mean into your field. That's it for now. Enjoy, and I'll see you soon for another video.